Ready to go, honey.
Yes, and given the, there we go, there's the signal.
All right. Welcome. Namaste.
There she is. Hey, Tanya.
To the Barcelona group where we're many, many miles apart, but you're right here with us.
And with Tanya.
Yes, and we're having this intention for you, those of you in Barcelona particularly, as a chance to meet me and this work and the opportunity it is for you. So welcome. Namaste. All right, it's funny.
Okay.
I want to say it's so good to be here.
Well, we all were here in no time or space, remember?
Yeah, I guess that's why that rose up. It feels very real for me. I guess that's how it is these days for me. I think it, and so it is. Well, it's probably that way for most of us, but yeah, I'm sure it's a different experience. All right, so we're going to explore kind of a foundational principle that ties into the nature of my realization and the work we're doing, and the kind of the cumulative wisdom that has come to me over the course of this 22-year journey in which Satsang and I had traveled together. And it is really kind of a maturing recognition of what is the spiritual path and who's traveling it.
Right? And what is traveling it?
What is traveling it, but also who's being dragged along, the what. The what's leading, the
like
who's
I got
being dragged along. Right, yes. And this is the case. Ready or not, here it came, or here it comes. So I really want to talk about this fact that what the spiritual path is has so much to do with life, with you, here, now. Its foundation is that quality of attention you are right now as we begin this exploration into the nature of the spiritual path. Because you here in this opportunity is to you're taking an action into something that you do not yet know. And our capacity to recognize that and to align with that is what makes this an opportunity for awakening, this an opportunity for a deeper realization of the nature of truth, an opportunity to move into relationship with a deeper and profound substance of the existence we take for granted, the oceans of waters we share with all of humanity. And a clarification on how to live, how to act, how to be in life. So that's what I'd like to explore to you. It's our work, the work of New Dharma, is to provide a opportunity, a path by which you can discover the divine reality that lives you in all existence in a way that it's immediate and available to you each day, each moment of your life. It is the principle of becoming divine and in the process discovering your humanity. And out of the convergence of these two, the difference you can make for the world when you act, when you come out of that place in service. You begin to become, as all of us, an instrument for the unfolding of the opportunity of our human species. So there is this very personal aspect of the spiritual journey, our own individual awakening, our own individual unfolding. But what is it we're awakening to? We're awakening to a pre-existing purposeful current that's been carrying all of humanity for eons. All of life, in fact, not just humanity. Humanity is a relatively recent flowering of this evolutionary current. And this current is made of a substance, a force, a quality of consciousness that has frequencies that works from the lowest and takes to the highest the possibility of the unfolding of this world we live in. So life is the path. And you are the one who walks it. And you have been doing that up until this moment in your life. You may not know it. You may not have recognized it at different stages as you've emerged out of the dimness of our birth and into our parents and our childhood and the influence of our environment and all that. It may have been dim, but you're probably all here because there's been some degree of awakening or awareness or sense of connection to that which is greater. That actually is aligned with this current. You not knowing it or not, it is what breathes your body right now. It's what's breathing you right now. It's what's digesting your breakfast or your lunch. It is right there as a dynamic, automatic expression of this purposeful current that has created a platform, vessels by which this current can be known and ridden. Without our bodies, we would be the current. With our bodies, we can know the current. We can experience the current. Therefore, our bodies are the means by which the universe can wake up to its purpose and become conscious collaborators. Hey, honey.
Hello, Eric. It's so great to see people we haven't seen in a while. So
yeah. So we talked, there are two different vibrations right now.
this is the path of life. We're just illustrating it.
Yes. We have this trying to match these two. I lift her up and she brings me down. And that's just the way we worked it out, right? Because if I stay up here, you can't live it, you can't know it. So, I mean, the nature that life is the opportunity is the ability to convert what we consider a problem into actually a greater capacity to come into existence.
That works every time.
Works every time.
So can I say hi to a few people?
All right, go ahead, get out of your system.
I want to say hi to Karen. It's really lovely to see you. And Radha is waving at you. And I see Yama somewhere. The pictures keep changing from screen to screen. So, and I saw Eric, whom we haven't seen in a while. So it's really cool to see people joining us. And I noticed that Adi Deva is sitting there in Sweden with Jaya and Eric. So great to see all three of you together. Yeah, they're all waving.
This is the mother.
We're bringing in the mother force too. Okay.
This is the mother.
And and a hello to everyone else.
All right.
Let's get serious.
Okay. All right. So this is the exploration. We're going to dive into something that's already here. Actually, we're really not. The spiritual path is really a discovery of what is. It is a finding within ourselves and in our lives, our purpose. So that's really kind of the gist of what we're addressing, is that the life you're living right now, who you are and what you are right now, is an expression of that current, and discovering both those parts of you that have been aligned with it and the parts of you that haven't been are the nature of the spiritual path. And our capacity of discovering those things that are aligned with this purpose of your existence and that which is not is a work that has three fundamental principles, three aspects, three paths. One is to become aware of it, right? You can't recognize a problem if you don't know it's there. You can't recognize that which is not aligned with you or that which is aligned in you with this purpose if you don't know it's there. If you don't know at any one moment you're an expression of the ignorance, or another moment where you're an expression of the opportunity of existence. If they're indistinguishable to you, then you are a tool, a victim, an instrument of the of the unfolding purpose and the collective error of the inability of that greater purpose to manifest itself through the various stages of human development, of creation's development. We all carry the remnants of the evolutionary process of all beings coming into existence. So this process of becoming is what this creation is. Out of a not being into being. And it is something that is the impetus, the basic fundamental reason we live, why it all is here like it is. And why is there darkness? And why is there light? Because it's a process that had a beginning, and it's a middle, and then an end. And who travels that? Who can find that? It's each of us individually. We don't know if collectively mankind will be able to get to that place, but each of us can, and each of us, when we do so, begins to have effect on all of us as we do so. So being able to discover this as your present moment is, first you've got to wake up. You got to become aware, or you have to come in touch. You got to have a relationship with what is aligned and what is not. So this is the purpose of awakening. And let's just take a moment to talk about awakening. What is awakening? It is to break out of the box that defined reality, that breaks out of the box that defined what was possible for us. It is this breaking out of the previous paradigm that we took for granted. It is being stranded from the ocean, the currents of your life, for a period of time where you can begin to see there is an ocean and there are currents, and that you have been a victim or a collaborator with those aspects of life. So awakening is a shift in consciousness. The nature of consciousness is, of course, one pure, vast, capable principle for actualization, ultimately, to coming into existence. But in our human form, it's coded. It's coded by the conditioning of our embodiment. The body itself carries the very record of the collective struggle of the emerging consciousness. So we wake up in a human body from sleep. And as we develop as human beings, we become a little more awake. Human beings have a greater possibility to be awake in consciousness than other species do, or that plants do, or insects or slime mold do. But it's still a process of becoming an individual, becoming individualized. Our bodies are the means by which we organize as consciousness and have an ability to become a knower, an experiencer, and a doer. Those are the three principles: to know, to experience, to act. And that comes with everybody. And most of those knowings and experiencing and acting is conditioned by our embodiment. Therefore, when we awake to an opportunity to be in relationship with ourselves and existence that wasn't there before. Now, awakening can be slow and gradual, where this sort of incrementally we kind of catch on that life is what it is, and that some things you can change and some things you can't change, and that you've come to terms with your limitations and you can enjoy the things that you do good, and you begin to kind of get a maturing, I would say. We mature as beings. And what is that maturing? It's meaning we're coming to the right relationship with existence, a right relationship with ourself, a right relationship with the unfolding of life as it is for us in our today, yesterday, the week ahead. This ability to come into existence more aligned with the purpose is a maturation of the immaturity that we were brought and born into, and the way we lived our life up until this moment, either aligned or not aligned, either asleep or awake. And this maturing process is what prepares us to wake up to the opportunity of the remaining of our life, whatever that might be. Our current relationships, our our struggle with our parents or with our bosses or with political circumstances or the coronavirus. And all these things are really simply our relationship with those things. How awake are we? How much are we able to see things truly? What are the parts of us that are in reaction or feel victimized or conditioned by what is happening? This waking up to the existing what's so is the nature of awakening. When we begin to wake up, it can be very disturbing. On one side, it can be how bad it is. And we call that waking up to how bad it is dejection. It is that part that says, I'm shit, it's all shit, it can only end in shit. That moment of dejection where everything loses its value is actually the doorway, a doorway to something greater, but you don't know it while you're in the midst of it. And then there's the other kind of awakening where you have a touch. You've been touched by God. You've been touched by the heavens. You've been touched by the miracle that existence is. Now, of the two, which would you prefer? Right? But the experiential awakening where you move into a touch actually is evidence of the maturity of your soul's journey. It doesn't come to everybody. And the only reason someone who comes to that state is able to experience that oneness or that touch of the miracle of life in God is because you've traveled this journey many, many lives. For most people, what happens is the dejection. That's the awakening as an opportunity this life in a new way, in a way that hasn't been available in past lives. Yeah, it's interesting. I talk about that like very naturally because that's the one thing that's absolutely true to me. You've been living many, many lives, and that the essence of the essence of you has been traveling for many, many lives, each life trying to learn how to pick up where you left off last time. And of course, life is a crapshoot. So some lives you can't do that. And other lives, sometimes in the crapshoot, it is a perfect life that takes you even further than you could have ever hoped to have taken. This is the nature of this creation. It's like a roulette wheel. It's a crapshoot. It's an event of apparent randomness. But these are always the byproducts of this unfolding of the opportunity that we are a reflection of. Nature is a series of experiments, like endless experimenting. She's been creating and creating different forms. The fact that she was able to organize a human form after 4.5 billion years is pretty magnificent to reflect that even the randomness has a direction. When we come into existence, that whole principle that has allowed existence takes a very specific shape, and we become actually the knower and the experiencer and the actor or instrument of that current at a level of precision and clarity and recognition and capacity that wasn't there in any other form, biological form. So we travel these many lives. The thing about the spiritual path, one of the earliest glimpses, freedom from fear. When the fear falls away, when you feel relief from the old you, when you break out of that convincing reality of how you had to struggle to survive and suddenly can relax and let go, you discover your eternal nature. You move into relationship with that which never dies in you. That me, not me, the personality and all its quirks, but me that's there when you sleep, the me that is the experiencer and the knower, the me who is the presence that lives your life. The I amness, I like to call it I amness, not the personality, that this never dies. And that we're a piece of a vast I amness, slowly becomes available to us. And then we can step back in that awakening to that eternal nature and allows us to start seeing accurately our predicament, seeing accurately the nature of the structures that we've carried with us or we've taken on or been instruments and channels of. And in that, we begin the true spiritual path. The labor of the spiritual path starts when we awaken. Awakening is not the answer. but it's a glimpse that lets us know in our experience or in awareness the reality of our opportunity. The purpose of our life then becomes to awaken further, to live in a current of becoming, of continuously awakening to that which we hadn't been able to know previously. Each act we take that's aligned with that makes it more real for the ego that we're dragging along with us. It starts a process by which the individual organization of our personality and what we've done all our life to get by, to survive, to be okay, begins to weaken its hold on our ability to perceive and experience existence. They start fading because we're no longer unwittingly feeding them, thinking that, oh, if I have that thing, then I will be happy. Or if I can get rid of this thing, then I'll be happy. That starts falling away because something that's fulfilled within itself starts showing itself. And it is this quality of fearlessness, the sense of being able to relax into the current of becoming without the threat of personal extinction. Can you imagine your life without fear? You didn't have some fear of someone rejecting you or fear of losing something that's precious to you. If you didn't have fear about the future or dread about some past thing happening again for you, imagine life without fear. Fearlessness. What would arise out of fearlessness? Freedom. Freedom arises out of fearlessness. Freedom to be, freedom to discover, freedom to be willing to meet the darkness. Freedom to knowing that nothing can diminish your freedom, or knowing the possibility of a greater freedom. By meeting those parts of you that still thinks it can be diminished or defeated or made extinct. And how is that done? This isn't done as some abstract intellectual concept. The spiritual path ultimately requires us to actually enter into our bodies, perhaps for the first time, to really begin to discover the roots of the error that we all carry. That entering into our body leads to the first quality of the first path. And that first quality is our awareness, the path of knowledge. What is the power of our awareness? It can see ignorance. When one awakens, the quality of knowing isn't a certain knowing of content. It is a capacity to know. It's a capacity to see more deeply, to see more clearly, to see more broadly. You could say it's an intelligence. It's awakening of our capacity to perceive existence in the truth of it. That quality that we become on the path of awareness is truth, the path of truth. The path of knowledge is always truth. The knowledge is secondary. The content of the knowledge is secondary. The path of truth is to know that which is the knower, to become that which is the knower. This quality of consciousness isn't something we do, it's something we are. It is something already here. It's something that's been working in our life to some varying degrees of diminished capacity all along. So it's like getting smart. Stop being stupid. We begin to discover our smartness. But the smartness isn't a certain kind of thing. It is a quality of me. And it has a power. There's a power in truth. There's a power in knowledge. Mankind throughout history has cherished its secrets because of that inherent power of knowing more than others know. But this is freely everyone's. No one can possess individually this truth of our own capacity to be aware, to be present, to learn, to grow, to discover, to find. That's ours, each of us. When we give it to others who seem to have more knowledge than us, then that has two aspects. One, it could be a fundamental error where we become less than, or it could be an opportunity by which we could become that too. Recognizing that there is more is a useful temporary construct. in the unfolding of your awareness. Because always when we make a shift in our awareness, when we come to a greater relationship with knowledge, we see with new eyes, we hear with new ears. It's we're like a different person than when we were before that shift. And that ability to shift into that, the tendency is to say, well, this must be it. This has got to be it. I got to look how much better it was, how much better now it is than it was, right? This has got to be it. And then the ego will come in and lay claim to it. What happens is the knowledge itself starts diminishing because the ego is trying to convert it into something it can use to avoid diminishment and enhance itself. So path of awakening is also awakening that you don't know everything. It's awakening out of thinking you know when you don't, or not knowing you don't know, to the place of knowing you don't know. A willingness to come into existence without any kind of certainty that the ego can lay claim, but with a quality of being with, a quality of holding presence for, a capacity to allow what is arising without a reaction or a judgment or a condition or a preference, no matter if it's dark or light or both simultaneous. So the path of knowledge isn't getting more information as much as the quality of one who can know. Now, the Bhagavad Gita, which is the foundation treatise reference I use in my work, speaks primarily in the area of the intellect in order to train your mind and intelligence to align with this quality of knowing. But the knowing of the Gita, or the knowing of the journey, or the understanding of the process is only an aid to knowing. Knowing itself is your own. The knowledge that comes, the true knowledge on the path of knowledge, isn't having just right information, although that can be helpful. It is a shift in the very fundamental paradigm that you are holding for yourself and existence. It's a fundamental fracture in the world that you've known before, allowing that which has happened before to be within the domain of your new consciousness rather than define the domain of your consciousness. So that's the path of knowledge. It's a path of awakening. The path that comes out of that is a discerning of the truth of your life already as you are, as it is. Being able to see with new eyes means being able to discern, this is how I had that person leave me. This was the role I played in that relationship that made it impossible for them to stay with me, because I'm that part of me is invested in being abandoned, is invested in being right, is invested in having it my own way. And then you begin to perceive the nature of the structures that have been preventing you from coming into relationship with life as a path of unfolding of the opportunity of your existence. And yeah, then we have to reconcile. When we come and recognize that we are the ones that have been creating what was possible, then also comes with the awakening that we can reshift our ability to come into life in new ways, to create a new possibility for being, a new relationship with existence. Nobody does this except us. You can have a wonderful vision of the absolute. You can meet Mount Arunachala or one of the great teachers in the history of mankind as a personal experience, but that is only a glimpse of the opportunity that you are. Making it real, making it lived, bring it into your life. Well, that's the work. And we're the ones who do the work, each of us. And that's truth. So that comes with true consciousness. That comes with the path of knowledge. It's recognizing, look I'm the one that had them leave me. I'm the one that's hanging on to its money because it's afraid that if it doesn't have money, it will be dominated by all the darkness that it has been avoiding all its life. It is the one who uses strategies for coming into existence rather than actually coming into existence. Coming into existence to survive or succeed is a very small paradigm for what's possible of existence. When you know you're eternal, when you meet that part that never dies, then you've got greater capacity to see that every aspect, every expression of life is a learning and an unfolding and a developing of a capacity to recognize your own authority in how life shows up. That means you become the causality. You become the recognition that the world is showing up the way it is because I'm having it be that way. And when we begin to do so, then we let go of the claim of our ego on our I-ness and begin to perceive the limits of our perception. Now, that's the path of awareness. It is in the midst of life. When we wake up to an issue, what also comes with awareness is a capacity to act differently, to choose not to act out the old tendencies that we had in the past, and to choose to act in a new way, purposefully, for that something that has not yet manifest could manifest. Perhaps it would be a love of a different order, a love without a claim or expectation or a need or a fear, a new kind of love. Or it would be a way to feel secure without needing outer support or outer structures to define that, getting agreement for our rightness and our position. That is always the byproduct of fear. This ability to dismantle those defensive, reactive structures becomes available to us. We become the means by which we can dismantle the error through a process of discerning and stopping old actions that do not serve and creating new actions that do. This is the power of truth, which by itself can't act. It needs something else. And then that's what we call the path of love, all right, or experience. Now, what is love? Come on. You know what love is, right? You know, love's the hug right when you need it. Love is the hot bath when it's been so stressful. Love is the, the third sip of wine after you're trying to wind down.
Playing with your puppy or kitty.
Yeah, playing with her puppy.
Or a bird.
Future puppy. It's still descending. Hasn't yet embodied yet. The mom and dad don't even know a puppy is coming. So love is the delight. Love is the ananda. Love is actually the reason this existence exists. So the path of love has its awakening moment. And I spoke of it earlier. It's when we get in touch with God, or we can get in touch with the world mother, or we get in touch with something larger, more vast to us, and we feel this relationship. We feel it and it feels us. And there's this extraordinary moment of meeting, of coming together of two parts, one separate from the other. And in that coming together is a glimpse of a relationship that's coming. Now, this love is the worm on the hook. This love is the thing that pulls people to the spiritual path so effortlessly, because all us humans live in a body, and the body is entirely a vehicle of what we call ananda, bliss, and it carries inherent pleasure, inherent comfort, inherent this capacity to relax and just be a body on the beach, right? Taking in the sun, hearing the waves crashing against the shore. The body is a miracle vehicle. So when you discover the path of love, you discover the miracle of life. And what you may not recognize is the miracle of what you are in truth. There's a direct relationship between truth and love. One is the manifestation of the other. Now, the nature of love is we just want more love, right? So the spiritual path of experience is more love. And ego knows how to do more, right? More and better. So it's really becomes the natural collaborator on the path of experience. It just wants more love. Yeah, more, right? You ever notice that if in the course of your life, you've fallen in love with somebody You notice that when that love is reciprocated, there's sort of like this synergy that happens. And then no matter when you're not with that person, how you're in love with everybody and everybody's attracted to you. It's the nature of love is to create love. Nature of love can't help itself but to love. And that's the nature of the path of love, is to love. Now, if we do it within the ignorance, we do it within the content of our human desires and wants and the evolutionary consequences of our biological needs and sexuality and children and attachment and betrayal and abandonment and revenge and vengeance and anger and resentment, well, that ain't love anymore. Oh, it's a version of love. It's a shadow of love, you could say. Just like love and grief are related. You know, love is the experience of something coming. Grief is the experience of something leaving. They're both love, actually. As you expand in your capacity to love, you realize that even pain is love. Even pain is ananda. And bliss is a doorway into a whole nother level of expanding into ability to be with pain. It is experiential. The body becomes the traveler. The knower sits in the background in the path of experience. The path of experience is the body is the vehicle that travels that path. And the knower rides along behind, trying to assess what that is. Then if the knower is still shaped by ego, which it often is on the path of experience, then it's looking what to get out of that love, what to lay claim to about that love, the position or how close to God you are, or how special you are, or whatever. That's what the ego will do with the path of love, because truth is in the background. It is not yet discerning enough to see the nature and the compelling quality of experience that's pulling your ego along, which is seeking a greater fulfillment than it's known before. So that's the path of love. Now, what is the secret of the path of love? Is to have an object of love, a beloved. That isn't just your puppy. Or even the lovely little forest you walk through every now and then, but something greater, a principle that would represent a greater love, a kind of love from which all the little loves emerges. And in fact, that's there inherent in the same current of becoming, that there is this vast impersonal principle that all it wants is to be. All it wants is to experience its own creation. And this principle is what has us love. We're an expression of that principle becoming fulfilled every time we experience the Ananda, every time we are in our body enough to experience the Ananda. And by the way, that's another issue. You don't get the path of love unless you're in your body. And you don't get the fullness of the path of love unless you're completely in your body. I mean, it's one thing to be in your head and know the love, that rarefied high bliss, or be in your heart and that just huge, expansive heart. But it's another thing to find the love in your gut. It's another thing to find the love in your second chakra and your first chakra. Another thing to find the love in the whole body. Now, that's the opportunity of the human vessel. It can sing the song of the Supreme in every single orifice, in every single channel. Now, you may know not that, but you will have glimpses of that on the path of experience. And then therefore, the purpose of that is the pull, like a gravity pull to the beloved. It's like more like this, actually. You're up here and you're falling into the beloved, unless the ego comes in and tries to control that merger. So the path of love is actually experientially a descent into your body. So those of you who are on the path of awareness and those of you on the path of love have different types of meditation experiences. Those who are on the path of awareness, path of knowledge, their experiences tend to go either an expansion in awareness, in awakening awareness, or an ascension. And those who are in the path of love is an expansion in the body or a descent more deeply. So if you're an ascender or a descender, usually indicates which path is more forward in you during your meditations. Now, what does that mean? Well, when you're descending, it's like you're releasing everything that keeps you awake. You stop treading water. Awakening consciousness is like treading water. You're operating on top of all the content, all the subconscious structures, all the subliminal patterns, all the things you don't want to meet, just looking for the things you want, avoiding the things you don't want. So it's always a treading. But when we fall out of awakening consciousness, then we start relaxing into a condition of being, which takes us into, first, what we've been avoiding, and second, into this discovery, finding of what it is to actually be in relationship with the beloved in your body. See that same feeling of being with your beloved when you make love with the person you want to be with? When you're in the intimacy of each other and the body is responding in the arousal and you're in synergy in the creation of that experience, that's a hint. That's a glimpse into what divine love is, what the path of love brings you to. Not that this is lesser, but it is from a different paradigm than this greater love of the path of love. That's why it's important to have a greater love, to have a love that you've not been able to fully drink or know. This surrendering to that opportunity is what the ego will willingly do because of its previous conditioning of the old types of love, because it brings forward all the other types of experience of love at its best moments. And as you move towards it, you begin to experience the substance of this all-pervading field of love that you're swimming in the midst of. This oneness, the sense of connection. Now, in the awareness, it's the same thing. It's in the field of this vast knowing. And there's a quality of moving into that quality of consciousness of that vast knowing where you actually disappear. I call that unity, where at that moment you become the Brahman. You become the Vasudeva. You become the vast knowingness. But the same experiences happens. The same thing happens as an experience on the path of experience, the path of love. You meet God. You swim in the ocean of that quality we define as God or the world mother or the divine Shakti or whatever word we assign to it. And we merge, we dissolve, and we become the ocean, riding her waves each day of our life. Okay. Now I got to tell you, all of these things are temporary experiences. They come and go. That's just how they are. They come and go. Now, what doesn't happen as much is the awareness tends to come and grow, but the experience will be coming and going. It only comes and grows when the awareness starts aligning with the experience. When the awareness is aligning with the experience, something extraordinary, where the knower and the experiencer that we are start collaborating in creating, bringing forward a quality of being that exceeds our individuality. We become a universal, we start partaking in the space of being of what we call the gods or the divine beings. Of course, we return back into our ordinary life, but every glimpse of these universal presences, these universal objects of beloveds, becomes something that has a lasting impact in our bodies. Our bodies start changing when the path of awareness and the path of experience comes. See, the path of experience has a lot of bodily function, bodily activity that goes on. There is a quality of transmutation that occurs as we learn to love more and more and more. But in essence, it's not complete unless the unfolding of the expansion of ourself as the knower and experience can occur concurrently. And it's when these two come together that the universe begins to make itself available to us. We become the beloved of the universe. We become the object of worship of the creation. We walk through the forest and all the trees and all the beings turn to us and are pulled to us. We become, for periods of time, a divine being on the planet. And our ego, whew, in the background, because it wants this. It's what the ego really always wanted. And then the ego dissolves egoing and becomes the I amness in those moments of recognition of what it means to be you in that moment. These are not abstractions. These are the path. This is the path of experience I've lived from my life to my awakening in 1998 to my 6 years in India and to the time ever since and to what I live right now, which I'm now sharing with all of you, including Satchmayi, my wife, 35 years. And in this process, I'm demonstrating the principle. Because you see a functioning human being, right? I can talk, I can relate to you, I can play with you, I can be bad, I can be scary, I can be loving, I can be supportive, there's nothing that, I'm not bound, I'm free, but I'm here for you. See, that's the thing that happens. When the paths of experience and awareness comes together, what happens is you become an instrument of the purpose of existence. You become purposefully living to serve the unfolding of the evolutionary opportunity of mankind. So that wakes you up in the morning, not your ego, not your desire, not your looking forward to the day, but this current of becoming that's living you. And you're just being dragged along. You're just having to keep expanding and becoming more flexible, more resilient, more able, more surrendered.
That's actually true. There's a couple people on today who've known Satri for almost actually before he started teaching on his own, and how he was back in those days and how he is today, you would not even recognize. So, I mean, he is a living example of what happens after, you go through this process and you just keep grinding it out and it just keeps smoothing away the rough edges.
She's the witness. Someone you live with for 30, 40, 35 years, more or less, is going to be your greatest critic.
That's true.
She's never hesitated to be my critic. That's almost the role of her in my life. But what does that do? Well, It just makes it more real for you that this is possible and that your life can become the means by which you come to being a useful instrument or channel. And then that's the path of action. Now, previous to that moment, when you're on the path of knowledge or on the path of awareness, path of experience, you are in actions. You are in actions that will consciously or unconsciously, that are resisting the unfolding of the knowledge that's coming to you, or that are in alignment with the unfolding of the knowledge that's coming to you, or that in you which is resisting the unfolding of experience, or that which is aligned with the unfolding of experiences. So there are actions occurring almost spontaneously based on the purity of the aspiration, the purity of the longing that you're experiencing, because both of those, the aspiration to know a greater truth or to be in relationship with that greater truth, or a longing to know God and experience God or to be God, these are felt experiences in your body. They're actually tangibly there. So when you can feel longing or feel aspiration, you're tapping into this current of actualization that's occurring in your system at that moment. This current of becoming in us is this longing or aspiration, this feeling of devotion or inspiration that lifts us into a place of willingness to go through a process which will eventually lead to the transmutation and the reorganization of every component of your body, your nervous system, your biological system, your chemistry, the physical cells themselves, everything associated with your body begins to become more capable, I would say, of holding a larger and greater longing, a larger and greater aspiration. It becomes a fire of transmutation, a fire of transformation. And that is action. That's something happening. Anything that's happening is action. The creation is action. There's nothing in the creation that isn't moving continuously, even a table or a piece of stone. Inside is the electronic, atomic structure of matter. It's always moving. Everything in this creation is moving, 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 moving. So when we begin to feel the current, that overall movement of creation starts organizing in our body. And it becomes this extraordinarily powerful, transmutating force that makes us something that we could not have imagined until it starts happening. And this force, this is the current that jettisons us into that absolute, into that eternal, unchanging reality. And it's this force that jettisons us into the arms of our beloved. And our arms keep expanding until all of it becomes our beloved. Even that which we would not imagine to have been our beloved. Just our beloved wearing a mask of pain, our beloved making a mask of separation, our beloved showing up with the person that before I didn't know how to be with, or showing up as a circumstance or an event that has happened that's tragic or terrible or a loss or a grief. It is all beloved. It's all the beloved's dance. These are all actions that are unfolding within us automatically. And what they do is call forth actions in us that are aligned with that possibility, especially early on the path. The real effort on the spiritual path is at first, when we become aware of our predicament, when the dejection has hit us, when we've come, and by the way, dejection, this collapse experience of falling out of the state of consciousness you were before, of losing what you thought you had, or what you had thinking you lost it, that darkness is a continuous companion, because awakening always has further and further stages. So this meeting, once again, that which is diminished, in the quality of that meeting, we can choose to get overtaken by it or by being with it. We can discover this capacity to experience the dejection as something that's arising in our body. And the action is to choose to experience it, but not label it, not give it power, not take actions based on its promptings. And in the process, it dissolves its hold over us. And then in that process, we recover our truth. We recover that all-pervading divinity, the divine love. And you begin to see that everything, even the suffering, even the anguish, even those very stuck parts of us, are expressions of this greater truth, are expressions of this expanding love. So when we come to the final stages where both these two paths start coming, the actions we've taken to get to that point become a momentum. They become a purposeful momentum that allows us to keep expanding to the fact that when these two come together, we become conscious collaborators to bring this more fully into life, but not just for us, but for the world, for every person who turns to us, who can see the truth in us or see the love in us and wants that for themselves. We become the means by which the universe awakens others. We become the awakeners. We bring people to life, to the life they're living now. And this is what I'm doing here, to let you know that it's possible, that what you've experienced in the best moments of your spiritual journey are available to you continuously. That you have the power to turn or turn off your relationship with divine according to what is necessary in the unfolding of the moment of that current that's living you. We then become willing and conscious collaborator with this era, with this time, with this period of time, this extraordinary opportunity for the collective consciousness. And of course, that's my goal, because this is the work I do, not just your individual journey. I wish to empower you in that. And I am empowering others to be working with some of you and others to be working with them as a means of disseminating the opportunity of this period, because it is a time of peril. It's the beginning of an unfolding of a challenge that is going to require we meet darknesses that have been denied or unexperienced in the history of the unfolding, especially in of recent generations of humanity. And there, we need to have a greater capacity to know this truth and to feel this love, to be able to meet that and hold that for the world. And that's the outcome. So the outcome isn't just to have a nice talk with a spiritual teacher there in Barcelona or wherever you are. It's not just to kind of have a momentary glimpse of something that perhaps you can't really articulate. It's to live it. And where do you live it? You live it in your life. And that is the path of action. The path of action is an invention. It's a creation out of nothing. A series of behaviors that allows for something to come into existence. I have found that I create a structure. I create a program, right? We've got all this as structure. All this video, people sitting behind the screen, the camera, you know, it's a structure so that this can have a vehicle to come into the consciousness at the level of the humanity, of the person, of the mind and the heart and the body, so that it can be accessible. And that's what we discover. We discover how to create. We discover how to make real truth. We discover how to make real love. We discover how real life is and how to serve the world in the process of that. And that's the path of action. Always it is self-giving. Always it's a spontaneous expression of the realization that's come to you. Always it's the abundance of the love and the expansion of the truth that has come to you. You will become a means of actualizing the possibility I'm speaking of here in your life, both individually to those around you and in whatever degree of the collective you're going to have a role to play in. Okay. So now there it is. Probably a little more than needed, but that's okay. Universe found a mouth and it just keeps talking. So I have to turn it down.
Time for questions.
So we're going to open it up to all of you, to any of you, especially those of you in Barcelona.
Meta's already on here, so we're going to let Meta go.
We'll make a second. The eager beaver
and then Barcelona.
Yeah. So I invite any of you who are new, because you'll discover it'll be quite interesting. And it's not scary, but it's everything new is scary. So it's going to have that degree. But I call it excitement. So if you come forward, it'll be exciting. It'll be something that will awaken something in you that is really wanting to be awakened. So I invite you to use this as an opportunity to do so. So what, we have another half hour?
No, we have, what is our end time tonight?
2 hours.
Okay, well, we've got plenty of time.
We'll just go.
And I'll play off of whatever comes up, so it won't be boring.
That's never boring.
All right, so who do we have up first?
We have Metta.
Meta.
Okay, Metta,
How are
welcome.
you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Been a long time.
Very long time.
Yeah,
Oh, your talk tonight really hit me, and but I was already hit when I sat down to listen. I've been going through a time with abundance, bliss, love, just being thankful. Yeah, really. And just yesterday, I kind of ended up in another situation. Yeah, I think, like you said, dejection comes several times, and I've been experienced it several times. And I think I'm in that right now. And also, you're talking of action. And I think I'm impatient to act because I so much want to serve. I so much want to do something meaningful for other people. And I feel I'm doing nothing.
I got it. All right, so just be where you are, Metta. Feel this anguish. It's so important to be with the fullness of experience when it arises. So I'm just because that's all you really need to do. Because out of this anguish will come what it is you're looking for. And what is this anguish? This is, it's really not, it's a despair that comes out of love. It's a despair that arises when we can't be the love in the way we wish, or we have not yet been able to actualize it, to allow it to find its channel for expression. And then it becomes sordid, it becomes an anguish that we can't live the love, we can't act on the love, we can't align our lives to express and to manifest the love. And that's what it's needed, Metta. You are in a place where you have to create the structure of how you can manifest. Now, we've given you opportunities, but it means you have to do it in responsibility. It has to be your program. It has to be your meditation group, not just being a participant. You have to commit your person to be educated and informed, to empowered, to create a structure for the unfolding of what's come to you. Yeah, I know exactly what you come to, Metta. You're very near. You cannot go forward without the action. That truth and love both need action to progress. Otherwise, we get stuck up. And the action means the person of us has to behave, take new actions and stop old actions, to go beyond the boundary of what is safe or comfortable or familiar, and to create, often at the edge of the vulnerability, a new way to be. So be willing to be vulnerable, Metta. That's letting go of the control of the habit of your life, letting go of all that structure that's organized you to be what you are now, or what you've been as a human being, to be on the edge of your vulnerability and be creating from that place out of seemingly nothing, but it'll be creating something that's beyond you in the process. But these are evidence, these moments of dejection, when you're at that stage, that something is being asked of you more than what has been asked for you before. The universe has come, it's done, prepared your system, and it will not give you the signal. You are now in a place where you have to choose. I am the one that reminds you, you have to choose. You're the one who does the action. So that's the role right now. Pick a structure, act on it, make it part of your life, your lived life. And what's come to you will begin to demonstrate the miracle that you knew before this particular dejection. Inevitably, you're going to come to your adulthood. We're being forced out of the incubator of our human immaturity. And we step out into vulnerability, into that, unstable edge of that which we do not yet know, in order to act from there aligned with the purpose that's living us, aligned with your longing to serve and to be useful, aligned with what you know you were born to do and you're going to use the rest of this life to do. And it will be action. Doing is action. Not having. You have enough. Acting is how you expand that enoughness into a lived immediacy. Then there's no time for dejection. There's no time for despair. No time for doubt or hesitancy, because the momentum takes over your life and then it calls forth what is needed of you.
I'm glad you said that that universe is not gonna show me I have to do it, because I've been waiting. I've been thinking, well, the universe will show me and nothing happens. And then I think, oh, now it's my ego wanting to take over. But
Yeah, double think. Yeah, well, that's why you have me in your life. That's why you knew it was going to be bad news yesterday.
This isn't bad news.
Yeah, this is the last strike of the ego's hesitancy, right? We're cutting that last thing. This is, well, what if? Get rid of the what ifs. So yeah, perfect. Meta, thank
very
you.
much.
Namaste.
Next up is the Barcelona group.
Hey, all
Hey,
right.
Tanya.
We
Here
have
she-
Tiziana.
Hi, hello. Really nice to meet you. It was a
Oh.
great talk and conversation. Thank you very much. It's my first experience really and connection through this world, and I was really curious to know a little bit more about who we are and trying to find some answer. So I think that it has been a great approach for me to listen to you. So thank you very much. So my
Well,
question is,
Let's wait.
What's your name?
What's your name?
my name is Tiziana. Nice to meet you.
Say it again. Anna or Donna?
Tiziana.
Okay. All right.
Titana? Okay.
All right. Well,
It's too difficult.
Tiziana.
Tiziana.
okay.
All right.
Very good.
That's great.
All right. So go ahead with your question.
So my question is, we're talking about I was trying to understand the shift that we can do in our life from living a normal life full of distraction and the shift of the awakeness. So I know that there are some techniques that people can use to be able to get to that stage. So we talk about experience, fine. We talk probably about, I don't know, maybe meditation, which I would like to explore even more. But what is your advice in terms of how, because at the moment I have my knowledge about who I am and I would like to progress, but what could be the instruments that I need to be able to achieve that stage?
All right. It's a great question. I mean, it's a really
Thank you.
question. It's coming from the truth of you that wants to know the greater truth, that senses it, but hasn't been able to access it, bring it into her life. So, all right, well, the first step you've taken is you've introduced yourself to me. So that actually will set in motion the thing you're speaking of. Now, the second thing is that I instruct everyone who's linked with me to develop a meditation practice of 45 minutes twice a day, no matter what, that you make those 45 minutes twice a day the most important thing in your day. And I assure you, when you start making that commitment, life will do everything it can to stop you from meditating 45 minutes a day. Your ability to master your life enough to sit for 45 minutes twice a day will be the first marker of the evolution of your awakening. Because you're following my instruction, you've met me, I see you. Once I see you, you see me seeing you, and I see you seeing me. In that moment, you open a cord, a connection. So when you sit in those 45 minutes, whatever is arising is purposeful, including not wanting to sit for another minute. You're learning to be with the part of you that's so raja, so restless that she can't sit, is what you sit with, not to take action on, but to be in the fire of not being able to move. That's the burning out of the inclination to keep being busy, to keep being distracted. You stop your life. You be simple and silent and still. The more you ground yourself in that principle within yourself, the more you've claimed some territory in your life for that piece of truth that you are. And you do it twice a day because what are we doing the rest of the time? We're being our ego. We're doing the things we have to do each day. We're doing all the other things. So we're unwittingly perpetuating ego in most of our life. But if you just take out 45 minutes twice a day, you open up a possibility for a new way of being that's based on the foundation of the eternal nature that you are, which is silent, still, and fulfilled within itself. So 45 minutes twice a day becomes something you live. And your life begins to organize, realign with this inner possibility that your soul is calling for you to. It's your soul that's brought you forward. It's your cry of the being that's saying, please take me out of this. I know there's more. Show me the way that I can discover who I am, what I am, what's the purpose of my life, and how to live.
Thank you very
How's that?
much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Good. Perfect. I'm ultimately a practical person. I was an architect for 25 years. So I know how to make something happen. You have to first build the foundation. You can't build a building without a foundation. The foundation is learning to be silent and still at least 45 minutes twice a day.
Thank you.
Can we have one more?
You
Sure.
can have as many as you
Yeah,
want.
this is Barcelona. So you got exclusive entry point. Hey. All right, welcome. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Simon.
Simon.
Hi, Simon.
All right, welcome.
How are you? This is my first meeting with you guys, and I'm absolutely blown away. But it was just truth and just the abundance of like an explosion of my heart opening, as if I had known you, or as if I know you all my life. So I was taking some notes. Yeah, I know. I thought so. I thought you were going to say that.
What it is I am and what it is you are the same thing.
Thank you for that. And I got a lot out of that question, and a lot out of that answer as well. The commitment to the 45 minutes is something that I guess furthermore I'm coming to ask for more advice, is that where I'm at in my life, I've just moved to Barcelona, a place that I've wanted to live for 4 years. Just quickly, I'm a massage and healing therapist and a yin and kundalini teacher. And I absolutely love what I do. I honestly, I just have such a passion for helping people and facilitating people, and to be, play my role in other people's growth. And I know that is my birthright through my own trauma and through my own existence on life in these 45 years of me being in my physical body. The
Perfect.
thing is, thank you.
I just wanted to throw that in.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly the unfolding we're speaking of. Is
Yeah.
when our life is our path, and you found
life is
a
the
way
path.
to live your life. So congratulations, Simon.
Thank you. And furthermore, diving deeper into that whole connection of the healer is the one that has healed themselves. And I do agree with that wholeheartedly. And deeper within that, I know that this healing process for myself is a lifelong commitment. And I'm absolutely willing and down on my hands and knees to commit to that. The thing that I find is that I'm not lazy, I don't think, but I tend to swap between living this amazing, connected, authentic, fluid, abundant life. But then there's parts of me, and I understand that there's yin and yang. I do understand that, but there's also parts of me that wants to stay small and wants to hold on to trauma that I've been through, and wants to, keep a hold of this scarcity mentality and hold on to all the old stories that I went through. It's only a very small part of me. And I know that as I walk throughout my path and I commit more to this other side of abundance and gratitude and absolute healing, I know that it's getting better. I just wanted to ask if there's any advice that you can give me on that.
Beautiful.
Please.
Thank you, Simon. That's actually a perfect segue into what's coming for you. Because I can tell you what's coming for you. The universe is coming for you. You let that in. When the universe is coming for you, you don't have to do anything else.
Mm.
You just have to attune to when it does. That's the nature when the universe starts taking over our own transformation. We surrender, we let go, and we learn to deepen into the becoming in our own bodies. I believe you're really well prepared for this. And I believe that our meeting is opening a door for that part of you that's aspiring to be in a greater, what you call healing, but it's a recovering of our original nature. It's
Absolutely.
a recovering of all of our original natures is the greatest healing that's possible. Because then even those things we imagine need to be healed, become the means for the greater truth that we are. So that there's no need for healing. When the universe comes in, you discover the current you've been living already. You surrender the need for you to do anything. You can become simple. You can quiet into. So it's right now, what's happening is what's coming to you, you're giving away. I can see it. Your Rajas is really coming also from your purpose, but it's premature or not complete. What will help this is the same advice I've given. Train yourself to live in silence and stillness, even if it means simplifying your outer life. Because what's happening right now, the abundance and the miracle and the wonder of your life is an expression of the force coming in and going out rather than coming in and building. You have to become a conscious container of containing of that bliss. So it becomes so uncomfortable. It starts setting in motion a miracle of transmutation. So you pull back from the outer expression, you become simple and contain this power of becoming that's within you. And yes, you'll meet the same issues that you've been meeting, but you'll enter into the capacity to cut the roots of them that keep repeating and keep coming up. You'll come into a place where the universe will take over the power, take over the process, take over the love, and you will become a more full expression of that love and truth and aliveness and that actualizing force. So that's the path I walked, Simon, because I didn't really have any motive to awaken. I didn't have any reason. The universe found me. I had no teacher. The universe found me, and she fell in love with me, and she made love with me for about 6 years. And that in that process, I began that if she could love me, then well, maybe I'm something more than I thought I was.
Yeah.
So I became her beloved automatically, but in the process, I became her, and from her, I became truth. I do know the journey of the universal. And what I did is I simplified my very satisfying life into a extreme simplicity so that I could be there for every moment in the day where the universe would come in and play her part in the transmutation and the unfolding of what I eventually have become. So that's the invitation. What will that look like? My invitation is read the Mother book by Shree Aurobindo. That book, Mother book, yeah, Tanya can show it. It's talking about a force that's coming into you already and opening up to it and surrendering to it and how you can use that as to take you further on the path of what you're calling your healing, your recovery of the truth of what you are and why you're here.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. I'm so glad to play this part.
I'm so excited. Thank you.
And we have Olga. Yeah.
Olga.
One more, Olga.
There she comes. Oh, good to see you again. Namaste.
Yeah, can you
Welcome.
see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can see you and I can hear you. Okay, good.
Yes, I had well, thank you so much, first of all, for your talk. And my question is, I guess the desire is there for the truth. And sometimes I find myself uncertain of what is about the path or about the technique. And I've been meditating. Well, Vipassana is probably my main practice for the last few years, but when I go to the Vipassana course and I got more established there, and I say to myself, well, this is the path for sure. And then I come back, and even though I maintain my daily practice, sometimes, like today, this morning, I met a friend, and she told me about her Kundalini experience a few weeks ago. So I'm a young Kundalini teacher, and I have never tried it, but she explained to me that she had never tried it either, and all of a sudden, this woman made her body, like feel a lot of energy, and then after that, profound peace. So now I'm thinking maybe I should try that.
Yes.
And then someone else talking about ayahuasca experience, and I have never tried that. And it's also sometimes tempting, but at the same time, Vipassana teachers, they say, well, Kundalini and ayahuasca are not compatible, and I want to stick to this path. So sometimes I have these doubts that from time to time get into my head, and should I try? Should I not try? Is this the path? So I was wondering if you can give me any advice on should I just stay with what I've chosen, or should I try new things, or I don't know.
This is just great questions, great things that are coming from all of you, but specifically this. You got to choose with something other than your head. You can't choose with your mind. You can't do it on hearsay. You can't do it on what someone tells you their path is this and this what it did or didn't do. You have your own unique path. All paths are within you already. However, aligning your outer life with those is the art. Now, it's my experience that the spiritual journey starts like this wide open arena of all the different teachers and all the different techniques. And we go and we sample like a smorgasbord, like, a meal with a lot of entrees that you can choose from. But at some point, you choose a path. Now you choose the Vipassana path. By the way, I have a great admiration for the Vipassana retreat because its foundation is truth. But what it lacks is experience. What it lacks is life. You can go and retreat to the retreat and come to something, but then you got to go back into your life and meet all the Holocaust and the wonder and the delight and the distraction of life. So how do you take the Vipassana and bring it into your lived life? It's something you do each day. Now, how do you get clarity on how to do that? Because you have enough intelligence. This is the Bhagavad Gita. These are my teachings to give you the clarity to help align this aspiration in you with how the practicality of how you meet the challenges of your day-to-day life and see them as opportunities to live aligned with what you already are and becoming. So if you have that it's me looking out for a resource that can help me develop on the journey, whatever you choose will serve, even if it's a disaster, or even if it's a great enhancement, because maybe that'll be your path, which will then take you to that place where the ultimate final journey can occur. Now, I can tell you, you're not a beginner. I can tell you, you've committed to the Vipassana because there's a strong awareness principle in you that knows, but there's a whole big experiential part of you that doesn't know. And that's the conflict. That's the confusion. The part of you that still wants a relationship, part of you that still wants to have a role to play in the world, the part of you that still is in the enjoyment of life and the possibilities of life come. So there has to be a way of bringing those two tendencies into alignment together. All right. That's what the Bhagavad Gita does, and the Mother Book as well. These are the two basic structures. The Bhagavad Gita is where we apply the effort and make the commitment and align our lives. And the Mother Book is a version of the same thing, but it's surrendering to the force that's already living us. So the path of the Mother Book is more experiential. Now, what about the Kundalini, right? Everybody whose awareness wants to know about the Kundalini, right? I want to feel that. I want to feel what that feels like. Being made love to by the universe, right? Well, that's because
like that.
the universe, because the awareness has expanded to the point that it's leaving the experiential behind. And the awareness has not yet developed the experiential within itself, so it's looking outside of itself for the bliss of that experience. So it looks for relationship, it looks for sex, it looks for booze or enjoyment or new friends or that whole thing, but it's coming from the limitation of the human embodiment, because the experiential body has to be developed, aligned with the awareness body before the awareness can find that it is the source of Shakti. It is the source of enjoyment. It is the source of fulfillment. Now, I can tell you that on path, we recognize both have a role to play. And I know there are people, including my wife, who is helplessly awareness. And I told her, she said, what is this God? What is this bliss? What is this love? She was resentful and critical of anybody who talked about their experiences until about 3 years ago. Then about 3 years ago, she says, what's this happening to me? I said, honey, it's bliss. Huh? Bliss? Where'd it come from? Well, part of the reason it came for her is that she's been spending, her life fully serving this manifestation. So her actions have been aligned with her awareness, her truth, but her experience is catching up because it's through the service that her system is opening up to the Shakti. And her Kundalini, which was there in the awareness, by the way, she could feel energy bubbling up.
Actually, Olga, I did a Kundalini yoga program for about 2 years. That helped.
So then that also ends how we can align that through the process of exploring. Experience is always embodiment. It is learning how to come into your body in experience. Allows you to deepen into the experience to the point where we go beyond the temporary fulfillment or enjoyment or pain and into something greater, something that is the felt principle of the purpose within our own bodies. So if you think of your sexual arousal when you meet somebody you're attracted to and they're attracted to you, there's an arousal that occurs. That's an expression, a human expression of the Kundalini Shakti, but it tends to be stuck in the second chakra. That same arousal principle can actually be set up your body, and that can start awakening the other chakras in their ability to feel the current at a felt experiential level. So it's not complicated. The more aware you are, and the more you can attend your attention to what's already happening in you that's in the vicinity of the felt experience of the Shakti, you can awaken it through your attention. So yes, these methods and techniques help apply, like yoga. You pay attention to your body. Well, this is paying attention to the current that already lives you. And then we become, the full Kundalini awakening is not necessarily required. It can be a slow unfolding, but I suspect it will be quick. When it finds its avenue, when it's broken through the resistance, the structures of trauma, usually in the first and second chakra is what blocks it, and need in the third chakra block it. So when those relax and it can get through, it'll be a sudden surge for you. And you'll feel it in your heart. I'm noticing that your diaphragm and your heart, I'm feeling the energy in your body as I'm sitting with you. So if you pay attention to what's going on in your body, that's Shakti. That is that experiential component that's rising up. Ooh, yeah. Can you feel that? Okay, well, that's it. It isn't attending to that is what empowers it, more effective than any technique or mantra or method. You already got it, my dear. It's right there with you. Now pay attention to that. Bring it up in the course of your meditations when you meditate. Just be in your body in that felt sense of the lived current. It's part of you being a woman. It's part of being embodied. It's part of all that you are and becoming. So attending to it empowers the truth of you. Perfect.
Thank you.
All right.
think
They're
they're
gonna let
good.
you come forward. Huh? Good to see you, Tanya. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. So beautiful. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So Tanya, did you want to interact
Yeah.
or just completing?
I think I'm good. I got your instruction in the email today, and
All right.
I think that, yeah, my endless doing and distractions, it's just a timely reminder.
All right. Very good. Well, you're doing the work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is Renee.
Renee. All right. Have I met you before?
I've been to a couple of your talks, but I haven't actually come up
Come forward.
and talked to you.
All right.
I'm
Congratulations.
I'm also
Welcome.
in Barcelona.
Oh, you're also in
Um,
Barcelona. Okay.
I haven't meant to be at the center with everyone, but I'm here at home.
All right. Well, welcome.
So thank you so much for your talk. It was it really brought a lot of stuff up for me. I've been on a spiritual path, a guru path for about 18 years. And over the course of the years, I had many experiences. But I would say the most, the last year and a half or so, I've had I sort of walked into non-duality, the door dropped away, and then it sort of started to deepen, and the levels of experiences started to just sort of really disintegrate any kind of boundaries and really just open up a vastness that was really went through first just a wow, this is it, and then into real bliss and love, and everything was love, and then it sort of shut off. Here was sort of just like shut off into a void of nothingness, just nothingness. And when you talk tonight about the restructuring of cells and the absolute changing, well, what the experience has been here since sort of flying off into that void is actually all of the practices that I had been doing, a practice of Ashtanga yoga for 15 years and a serious meditation practice and awareness-based practices, and just all of these things started to just not fit inside anymore. Like they couldn't, the energy had changed so much and just transformed that what I did before cellularly didn't fit. And what's happening now, I think over the course of these months, is there's like just like such a detachment that there's almost no motivation, and there's no self anyway. So it almost starts to feel a bit nihilistic. And so I just feel like I'm just sort of floating off in that void.
All right. Let me ask you a few questions. When did this happen? This shift happen? How long ago?
That would be about 8 months ago.
8 months. All right. So congratulations. You've met. I could tell you the nature of the void or the vastness. This is what in the Hindu is called Brahman. It is an attainment on the path of truth, on the path of knowledge. You are now the knower without needing anything. Therefore, the human form that holds that knower seems incidental and unimportant. The whole paradigm of humanity and life and lived and just disappear in the field of this principle of the Brahman, of this Vasudeva, vast knowingness. But it's a trick. It's a purgatory. It's a transition. You're in a transitional zone because you're very embodied, surprisingly embodied. Now I can tell you, that your experiential path was evidence of your embodiment, but the experiential path is still in space and time. It still comes and goes. It still needs a teacher or a mantra or a technique or something to work. But what you popped out into is something that needs nothing. Nothing is it. It is that no thing, right? You are the no thing, and all of this is no thing. So it is, the word to understand is no thing, but it is something other than no thing, but you can't know it yet because there's a boundary of having lived as a mental human being. It's like a membrane. And when you're in this expansion, there is a boundary of that that has not yet presented itself, where you rend the boundary. Now, that will lead to samadhi. That will lead to your disappearance. Now, when that happened for me, it's not yet happened. I don't know what your circumstances enough to know how soon, but it seems that in the right set of circumstances, this could happen. When this happened for me, because I was experiential like you, on the first 9 years or so of the, no, excuse me, first 2004 is when it began. So the first 6 years, the experiential fell away, and I went into this samadhi. And for 3.5 years, I would disappear sometimes for days, where I would sit down and I'd come out like I had just sit down, felt like I had just sit down, and a day and a half or 2 days had gone by. And there was no time, no space, and literally physically, there was no apparent change. I didn't need to go to the bathroom. I didn't need to drink. I didn't need to eat. It had all disappeared. That's the embodiment of the no thing.
Mhm.
All right, so that's what to look for. Now, what will allow you to get that? The only reason I came to that place was I had a teacher who had gone through that transition. Otherwise, we get stuck by the boundary, and what happens is when we drop the body, the boundary disappears, and we merge into that field, and probably not to come back. Certainly, there'd be no pull to come back.
Mhm.
But if you can pierce the boundary while you're in the body, then you can be what I've become, which is this combination of truth and love embodied to serve the world. Now, I didn't know that when it came. I didn't know what I was going, except while I was doing it, I was running a small spiritual facility for my teacher in Sacramento, California. And I was working with people every day, and they had to just learn how to, when I would be available and when I not, and then I did programs. So my life was aligned with the unfolding that when I came back, I would be manifesting as I am now. That I had circumstances in life where I was playing the role that I would ultimately play, even though all of it seemed, it was enjoyable, but didn't seem like I was doing anything or anything was important in that. It was just things arising that were wonderful and beautiful, but didn't have any residue. No residue at all.
Mhm.
That transition where we move from our own individual realization and actualizing it to serve the world would be the means to support you and going beyond this state, interim state that you're in. It is action that you create with no desire, with no motive, that just intellectually it's aligned with your purpose. So that's the inquiry I invite you. I'm a demonstration of that. Our programs are set up to create structures for people who are in this process of learning how to make this real in their lives. And even though they haven't attained the thing ultimately, their actions are aligned with that attainment.
Mm.
So in your case, it's come. Now you have to create actions that are aligned with that attainment. So the thing I can offer you is the structure of the new Dharma programs. There's a training process of how to do a meditation group or a world meditation group or a study group or an inquiry group as a means for you to begin to discover how to come in newly in life than the way you've been in life from all your other previous attainments. You are becoming the guru. You are becoming the thing that you worshiped before. Owning that and not letting the ego lay claim to that is the intelligence you need to have. And that's why the later chapters of the Bhagavad Gita may be very useful for you. The mother book less so, but the chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the later chapters, talk about the structures, and I share it when I reveal in the book that I'm creating, but it's also in talks that are on the website, the nature of creating a structure by which you can manifest into the creation. Because what it comes down to is your ability to be with darkness, your ability to meet the obstacles and the resistance within yourself and in life, and to hold them and to watch your consciousness dissolve them. This structure of discovering what you've become can only happen through action. You have to go outside of the boundary of no desire, no want, no interest, and create something out of nothing in order for you to discover what you've become. So it's time to grow up. To come out and discover that you're walking this journey by yourself, alone with God and truth, as an expression of your eternal nature. There's parts of you that have not grown up as a human being are going to be what needs to grow up to be able to bring it into your life. There's your future, my dear.
Thank you.
Wonderful to meet you.
Good to meet you. Thank you.
Yes.
Next up is Susanna.
Susanna,
Hey,
namaste. Good to see you.
namaste.
It's almost like
Namaste.
you're just in the house down the street.
Well, I wish I felt like that.
Well, you're never far from me.
I it was interesting, the whole process that happened just by even the thought entering my mind of raising my hand, and well, my heart started racing because I had no clue what to say. And then it starts diminishing and rationalizing why I shouldn't. So the fact that I did feels
True.
just allowing it.
You're craving immediacy.
Yes, that's, well,
You're addicted to immediacy. And you're living right now, you're in immediacy. So congratulations. You're eating the food of the substance that nurtures and heals, brings your soul into collaboration with this purpose of your life. So
yeah,
I'm glad
well,
to be the
that's,
moment.
that's the exact conclusion I came to as well when I was waiting. It's like, I just want to be, and I just want to be seen in it. But somehow I'm so habituated to, you know, while I'm waiting, thinking about what I want to say, and then it goes away from the immediacy and it becomes a story. And
Yeah.
then it feels like there's yet another opportunity lost to just be in it. So
it is your nature of what has come to you, that it's intolerable not to be in the immediacy. It's a trauma. It's the psychic trauma that you've been acting out. Is that the wanting to be in immediacy, but it's also the need to be seen. It's intertwined for you.
yeah.
And this need to be seen by someone we want to be seen by becomes a separation. The need makes it a separation rather than drawing on the fulfillment of being seen. It's not enough to that part of you because it comes from need, and need never will be satisfied. It will always need to be needing. So it's a desire structure that's stuck. And you know this, you have the awareness of it, but it hasn't yet come to the resolution. The resolution will come when you learn to be not in the immediacy where you are. To learn to be able to inhabit the person of you, where you're there with that structure, but not being the structure, because that's still what's happening. You've unwittingly fed it with the power of your consciousness, and therefore it has an authority that you have to now use your new authority to dismantle, to refuse to go there, to refuse to speak it, or to refuse to act on it or perpetuate it. Now, how can you get to that? You can't get to that through will alone. Where you can get to is to know love. It's to love, to choose love, to choose love in the midst of not enough, to choose love in the midst of the confusion and the inner battle that goes on. Find something to love. Love me. Love Satsang. Love everybody else. Feel the love. Realize you are creating that love. Be the experience of the love when you give it. And that will heal the pattern in you that still does not know how to come into existence. Be the love. You are the love. Everybody knows it. You're the last to catch on, but you are the love.
Yeah.
Be willing to be the love and not the miserable, complaining, dissatisfied, self-judgmental creature that you are.
Yes.
It is learn. It's a training. It's an effort. It's an applying of action. It's a withdrawing of actions in order for this to become real. You are the love. I say the love. She's the love. As soon as I say it, she knows it. Not a secret.
Well, it seems like I need to learn this like 100 times over and over again every day. And
well, it's a stubborn structure. I agree. It's stubborn. But once it gets it, it'll get it forever. Then you got to be patient with yourself. And there's nothing harder than being patient with yourself, because then you have to be with all the shit. So be the love is a lovely compensation for shit. You know, let the shit arise in the midst of the love, and it won't stay shit long. It'll become food for the love. So love yourself. Forgive yourself. Have space for yourself.
yeah, I recently had this vision or idea of that I'm not sure I ever stood by that small me. I never had the endurance to stick with her in the darkness.
Beautiful, powerful recognition. Really important. Stand with that wounded you, that part. Be the mother for her. Be the wise, loving, patient for how long ever she needs the trauma, as if it was going to act out in tantrum, that desperate tantrum. You hold the tantruming child, that abandoned part of yourself. You do that.
Yeah.
Nobody else can do it better than you.
It also sort of gave me respect for her to see that she was in it all along, and I would just flee because it's too much. So I'm learning.
I'm there with you. Just remember that. And that'll strengthen your ability to stay and be patient. Be patient with that part of yourself.
Yeah, I know you're there, and it helps. It means a lot. So thank you.
Okay, we're done. Okay, such my timekeeper. My gatekeeper is just informing me
We're
that
finished.
we're done.
We hope to see you all tomorrow and on Saturday.
Yes, and so we welcome you to join us on our Barcelona program. We're there in Barcelona to kick
Lisa
butt.
and Hart.
We're gonna manifest. We're gonna explode Barcelona. Watch. It's already happening. All right. So with that, I'd like us to spend a little time practicing silence and stillness together, which, by the way, is usually more effective than doing it just with yourself. So this technique, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, is very simple. You're to sit in your, wherever you are, be comfortable. Let's just see, it's going to last about 10 minutes. And let yourself be aware of your breath and be as aware of your body as you can. Check into your body, like pay your attention and see how's your leg doing, how's your torso doing, is there any pain? And then look into your body and see if you can feel what's going on with you, if there's excitement or pressure or an energy that's occurring. And then be aware of the container of your brain, not just your thoughts, but the container in which the thoughts arise and that brain stuff. And be aware of your eyes and your ears and your hearing of my words, and be aware of sound coming in as I speak this now. So tune in to you as a vessel, a vehicle for being now, right here in your awareness and in your experience. Okay, we will sit for 10 minutes, and there's really nothing to do but to be with yourself and to let what happens happen. Let us begin. Hari Om Dhat Sat. Hari Om Dhat Sat. Hari Om Dhat Sat Shree. All glory to Supreme. May truth manifest. Namaste. Thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you again.